You can go to the second seat. That second seat. Weren't they great? Give them another round of applause, please. And I just want to reiterate something that was said on this panel and Grace said before. We need to support our Chinatown businesses. We need to support our Harlem businesses. We need to support our Washington Heights businesses. These are communities that are under attack right now, and they need your support more than ever before. And as Tutu and Kathleen said, support your farmers. Support Grow NYC. They need it now more than ever. So I have a very special conversation now with U.S. Member of Congress Danielle Goldman, who represents the 10th District of New York, which includes where we're coming from today. So this is great to have you here. And we're going to talk about policy solutions to improve eaters' health and well-being. So thank you, Congressman. It's
Thank
so
you.
great to have you.
Thanks so much for having me, Danielle.
You know, it's exciting. I want to dive right into some really icky, sticky issues. And as food prices rise, we're seeing cuts to the SNAP program, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Can you talk about what that means for New Yorkers, those cuts?
Sure, yes, it's going to be devastating for a lot, and you hit the nail on the head because it's not just that SNAP is going to be reduced significantly, if not eliminated, for more than 300,000 people in New York City, but the tariffs are causing food prices especially to go up. So we have a combination of a problem that is a tinderbox.
Yeah.
And what it's going to do is to dramatically reduce the options for so many New Yorkers to simply eat. I mean, the most basic necessity, right? And it is baffling to me in the wealthiest country in the world that we would force people to choose whether they are going to eat or get health care, whether they are going to have dinner or pay their rent. And that's really what this is going to do. And to the point of what we're talking about here, it dovetails as well with the rise in healthcare costs and the cuts in healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, money is fungible, right? You don't just, it's not, I have this line item in my budget for healthcare and I have this line item for food. No, you have whatever you can make for the month, and that's what you have to spend. And you mentioned Chinatown, which is also in my district. The impact of all of this, and the tariffs included, on our small businesses is together really exacerbating significant problems.
Absolutely, and it becomes so much harder for families to lead healthy lives when these benefits are taken away, when these tariffs are in place. What are you hearing from your constituents?
Well, I'm hearing multiple things that are really going to damage our economy in addition to just damaging the livelihoods of people. I was over in a restaurant, a small business, a restaurant in Park Slope a few weeks ago. Is a jerk chicken restaurant, and I was talking to Fanny, the owner, and she said that just because of the tariffs, the cost of ingredients have gone up so much so that her profits have gone from 30% to zero.
Oh my God.
Because she can't pass through all of these costs because she just won't get any business.
Right.
And that's something I hear in Chinatown all the time.
Yeah.
And so, when you add that to a massive backlog of SNAP theft.
Right.
And over $40 million has been stolen from SNAP recipients.
Yep.
And we had a bipartisan deal that I was very involved in trying to put together last December, because the federal government has to essentially authorize the restitution to those victims.
Yeah.
We had it in the bipartisan bill, and then when Elon Musk and Donald Trump decided to swoop in and undermine it, they took that out. And so it's honestly, it's unfathomable to me that you would have the victims of SNAP theft bear the brunt of it, when they literally depend on that money to eat.
Right.
So that's something we're working on, and we're pushing. I'm pushing for the Food is Medicine Act,
Yep.
which is so topical to what we're talking about here, and making sure that we are not only feeding people, but that we are creating an environment that allows for healthy, nutritious food to blossom, to grow, so that now there are more options for those who are on SNAP to eat that important food, because food is truly medicine.
Are you seeing any bipartisan support on these issues right now?
Yes, that's a complicated question. So there are co-sponsors from the Republican side of bills. I'm have a bipartisan bill on increasing the security of EBT cards so that the theft cannot happen anymore. The chips and technology is way ahead of where our EBT cards are. And that's bipartisan. But the problem is that those Republicans who sponsor these bills do not prioritize them. And the leadership, which controls what bills go on the floor, do not put them on the floor.
Yeah.
So yes, it's supported in a bipartisan way in name, but when you are in the majority, you have total control over what legislation goes on the floor.
Right.
I have no control of it, and I can't do anything about it without Republican help, and we haven't gotten any.
Absolutely. I want to go back to SNAP and summer EBT. Can you talk about, if we don't have summer EBT here in New York City, what that looks like?
Well, think about it, right? I mean, free meals at schools are so essential for so many kids and so many families. That is, unfortunately, often, now it's been expanded to breakfast, but breakfast and lunch are sometimes the only meals that our students eat. In the summer, they're not going to school, so they don't have those meals available to them. So I've been working with the governor, I've been working with my colleagues in Washington to really expand the summer EBT program to make sure that people can get reimbursed for food through this summer EBT program, but also so that people know about it. Because your free school lunches and school meals are well known to everybody. You go to school, you get them, but there's a process to get reimbursed for summer EBT. And so we're, last summer, we did a lot of work with the state to amplify this, to make sure that people know about it so they can get reimbursed for their food costs.
So really important for your constituents to call Congress and say that they want summer EBT to exist.
Absolutely.
You mentioned working with the governor, and in the absence of federal leadership on so many of the issues that people like you care about, what are you recommending sort of at the state level?
Well, one of the things that we're starting to have a lot of conversations about is obviously how to mitigate the cuts that are likely coming. And that's with SNAP, that's with Medicaid, that's with healthcare. One of the ways that the Republicans are trying to cut all of these programs is to make the administrative burden so significant that people just can't do it. They don't have the time in the day, they don't have the records that they may need. But the state is ultimately responsible for establishing within the confines of the law what forms need to be filled out, how that process is going to work. And so we are working with the state to try to make this process as easy and simple as possible so that people are able to continue to supply the administrative records and documentation about work requirements so that they can stay on Medicaid and SNAP.
Yeah,
I mean, the one thing though that's I don't know if what you all feel like. I have 5 kids, and I have a 7-year-old, and I have an 8-year-old. The notion that a 7-year-old, that an 8-year-old is not a dependent child is the most absurd thing that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But that's what they did, and that is going to impact hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers because if you're not a dependent child, then you have to meet the 80 hours of work per month. And oftentimes you can't because you're taking care of multiple children
Right.
that need you, that literally cannot get around, cannot eat.
Right.
So it's really, really it's disingenuous and incredibly sneaky for the Republicans, and that's putting it politely.
I was going to say, it's one word for it.
To say that 8-year-olds are not dependent children.
Yeah, absolutely. These are tough times. The intentional chaos that's been created by the administration in so many ways is unconscionable. But we still want to create, citizen eaters, people who really care about these issues. What are you recommending to your constituents? And I'll give you an example. Senator Coons and Congresswoman Pingree have told me in the past that it's stories that matter to them the
100%.
most. To be able to tell those, give stories to Congress members so that they can articulate them on the floor.
Right. And just think about it, and it's true across the board. I can talk about the $900 billion in cuts to Medicaid. But for everybody, that is just an intangible. It's impossible to kind of imagine what that actually means. But if I am talking about how many constituents in my district, and there are over 50,000 who get SNAP benefits, and they're all subject to having reduced benefits, which means that they are not going to be able to eat, that is better. When I'm able to talk about Fanny's story,
right,
people understand that a lot better. So in terms of advocacy, that is incredibly important. And then the other thing that I am really focused on now is that we have to recognize as a country, as a community, as a city, as a state, we need to pull together during this difficult time. And it will end. I promise you, it will end, but it is going to be bad for a little while.
Sure.
And so we need to recognize that all of us need to pitch in a little bit more, whether it's time, whether it's energy, whether it's money. And I am specifically calling on corporate America to fill some of this gap, especially as it relates to basic necessities like food and healthcare.
Any other actors you want to call out who should step up in this space?
Well, look, foundations and charitable organizations are going to need to fill some of this gap. And as government funding is cut, the demand for that money is even greater.
Yeah.
But for those who can afford it, boosting their charitable giving during this difficult time on these basic essentials is incredibly important and incredibly helpful. And so some people have the money to do it. Some people have the ideas. Some people have the advocacy. Some people have the organizational skills. Some people have the incredible nonprofits and community organizations that do the work on the ground. We need to make sure they are funded,
Right.
They get more funding, and so that they can do their work for more people, because there are going to be a lot more people who need it.
What I find really positive about you is you're talking still about hope. You see a day after all of this is over.
There will be a day after. There will be a day after. And frankly, from the Democrats' perspective, all of these, the staffing at the government level, the benefits are being so significantly undercut. But it actually presents us with a unique opportunity to reimagine how we want to provide healthcare,
Right.
how we want to provide food assistance. And that really dovetails with new technologies in agriculture, and making those connections, as you were talking about, with farmers and into our urban areas. But even urban farming has
Right.
become a bigger thing, and something that I'm pushing very hard, given my district is in the heart of New York City,
Right,
and we don't
right.
have a lot of fields with agriculture. But we need to take this opportunity to not just return to what the status quo was, but to think creatively, make it better, make it more efficient, and make it more productive.
Wonderful point to end on, Congressman. Thank you so much for being here. It means
Thank
a
you
lot
so
to us.
much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.